What's going on, everybody, and welcome to part 4 of the data visualization applications with Dash and Python tutorial series. In this tutorial, what we're going to be doing is covering live graphs. So up to this point, we've covered how to do a basic layout, insert a graph, and then even have like user input changing what that graph is. But many times you're going to want to actually have a graph just automatically update, whether you're doing something like reading from a sensor, or maybe you're doing some updates based on some database values or whatever. There's lots of reasons to have a live graph. So let's go ahead and cover that example. So first we're just going to make some imports here. So we're going to import Dash so it can use stuff from Dash. From dash.dependencies, we're going to import output and event. So unlike before, we were importing just output and input. This time, to update live, we don't need any actual input. Instead, what we're going to have is an event that triggers some sort of function that, as if an input, like an input, but instead of an input, it's actually an event. Lots of times, actually, an input, if you're doing like UI, really anything like GUI stuff, a lot of times a user input's called an event, so it's kind of an unfortunate naming convention there, but that's okay. We'll just continue on, but just take a note that if you're using your imports from before, that you need event there. And then import dash core components as DCC, and then import dash HTML components as HTML. Then we're going to import Plotly so we can use stuff from Plotly. We're going to import random just for the making of random data for us to graph. And then we're going to import plotly.graphObjs as Go, for short for graph objs. And then from collections, we're going to import DayQ, or DayQ. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to call it DayQ. Feel free to get me in the comment section and tell me how to properly pronounce that if you want. What a DQ is basically it's a container that you can specify a max size. So you can basically think of it like a list that you can say, okay, I want the maximum size of this list to be 20 elements. So when you try to insert the 21st element, basically what it's going to do is it's going to pop out that 0th element and then insert that new element. So it always keeps a maximum length. It doesn't have to be that length. It just has a max. So anyway, X will be a day Q with a max len of 20. And then we're also going to do the same thing for a Y. Now we're going to go ahead and X.append 1, Y.append 1, just so we have some initial starting data. Now let's get to the application itself. App equals dash dot dash, and then we'll just throw dunder name in there. And then app dot layout. Basically, we've seen this before, so we're going to have a HTML.div, and then inside here is where all of our children will reside, and that's going to be a list. And in there, and in fact, maybe this would be better than the way I was going to do that. So we're going to say, man, I still don't like the way it's done that. Let me do this. I wonder why it's acting that way. Oh, you just really want to be a list right there. Okay. Like I said, styling the HTML from within Python can be a challenge. Okay, so anyways, we're going to have dcc.graph, and this will be the graph that we're hoping to be live. Now, we do need an ID if we're going to be updating this element, because just keep in mind that all the updating that's going to happen is going to be done via JavaScript, and if you've ever worked with JavaScript, if you want to update something, you pretty much need an ID. You could get away using other things, but it'd be very sloppy. So we're going to use an ID for this. So we're going to say live graph. So we have the ID, and then we're also going to pass an animate equals true here. And that's really all we need. If you recall, the other thing that we're going to need is figure, but we'll get there in a moment. So dcc.graph, good. Now what we're going to do is also have an interval. Now this is kind of an interesting little element here. There. What we're going to have is the interval, and you're going to specify an ID for this thing. Now, maybe we'll check what this looks like in the code. I'm not sure we'll actually be able to see it. But anyways, this is how we're going to trigger an event to occur for us. So we're going to give this the ID of graph-update. So this is going to be basically an event that has the ID of graph-update, but it's an interval. So what we're going to say is we're going to say the interval that we want this event to occur in milliseconds. We'll say 1,000. So every second, or every 1,000 milliseconds, this interval is going to run with the ID of graph update. So if you recall from before, when we did inputs, the input would have an ID and a value. But using that ID, in the wrapper that we passed, or that decorator, that's what we need to trigger some function to run. So if you're feeling comfortable with the input and output stuff, then you should probably know already where this is going. But we need to make first that decorator. So what we're going to say is at app.callback. And so we're going to make a callback here, and we're going to say the output. The output is this live graph, right? We want to update this live, whatever has the ID of live graph. Now this time though, we don't want to just update anything. We want to update figure. So again, this graph won't actually show anything until we pass figure into it. So just for the record, I'm just going to paste something in real quick. Don't write this out. But this is what we're expecting when we graph something. So we dcc.graph, it gives an ID, which we must have, and then a figure. And inside that figure, which is a dictionary, we have data. And then if you want to, you can pass layout and stuff like that. So keeping that in mind, let me just comment that out. Again, you don't have to write that. I just want to show it to you and bring it to your attention. Okay, so in the callback here, okay, we've defined our output. Now what we want to do is the events. So what we're going to say is events equals, and this will be a list of, again, the event type. And then what was the ID of that event? Well, it's graph-update. So as you can imagine, there are other updates, or I'm sorry, other events that you could come up with. It just so happens that the event that we're making use of right now is just this interval class, basically, that just simply calls this ID every 1 second. But there are many other events that we could use here. This is just one of them. So event is of the ID graph update, and it's an interval. And then what we're going to do now is define the actual function itself that's going to run. So we'll just define update graph. And again, we can call this anything we want because it's actually the wrapper itself that is being called. And if you're familiar with decorators / wrappers, it's almost as if it's encasing the function within. So it really doesn't matter what we call that function. It's the wrapper itself that's going to get the trigger to then run the function. So once we have that, what we want to do, since we're just using some toy data, is update that data. So I'm going to global X and global Y. Some of you might be squirming or whatever because you're told globals are the devil. If it makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. This is just a toy example, like I said. Normally, maybe you'd have an SQL query here, something like that. Select all from limit 10, order by, time descending, not in that order. Anyway, you'd have something that's updating this data, or maybe you're reading from a sensor and then you're storing the data somehow. Whatever. I'm just going to do it this way for the sake of simplicity, and then let's just add some data. So we're going to, for X is just our X-axis, we're going to just do X minus 1 plus 1. So we'll just keep adding 1 to this X element. And then what we'll do is something similar for Y, but not quite the same, otherwise it would be very boring. So it'll be the last Y element plus the last Y element times random.uniform, let's do negative 0.1 to 0.1. Cool. So that'll just kind of add a little bit of randomness to how our data looks at the end of this one. So once we have that, now what we need to do is we want to build data, right? We want to build this bit out. So what we're going to say is that data bit will be plotly dot, and actually I think we're going to use graph, yeah, so let's just use go here. So data equals go dot scatter, so it's a scatter plot, and then what we're going to say is x equals list capital X, y equals list capital Y. Let's not forget our commas there. So you can't pass a deque here. You have to pass a list, so we're just going to convert it the last second to a list. Now what we want to do is, let's just give it a name. We'll just call it scatter. And then we're going to get, dude, thank you. Now we're going to give it a mode, and we're going to say lines plus markers. So in Plotly, there's nothing called a line graph. It's just a scatter graph that happens to have lines connecting the scatter. So that's your line graph. So lines plus markers gives you a line graph. So once we have that, basically now that's the data bit in here, right? That's this. But now what we want is basically all of figure. And that's what we want to stuff into this graph right here, right? That's what we want to end. So now I'm just going to return this stuff. So I'm going to say return. And then what we're going to return is a dictionary, right? This, right? With this first value being data. So we're going to return, I think it's lowercase, yeah, data colon. And then as you'll see, it's a list of elements. So let's just do a list of the elements with this X and Y and types, or not types, but names and mode, let's say. We want that to be a list, so we're just going to list data. Okay? So that's covered. So we've done this part, right? Now we need layout. So let's go ahead and pass the layout. Layout. And layout's going to be a little different. Now, the reason why we have to do this is, for whatever odd reason, when you animate a graph with Plotly, it doesn't want to like refresh the entire graph. It only refreshes the data points within the graph. Now, this becomes problematic when you exceed whatever the starting axis values were. So let's say the axes went from 0 to 10. What if you have x of 11, 12, 13? Well, as that graph updates, it just goes right off the graph. It doesn't actually update. So what we want to do is we want to have this graph update those things. Now, if anyone from Plotly is listening, which I doubt, why is it that way? Don't make it that way. But anyway, go.layout, like to me, the animate equals true ought to have this basically run every time. Instead, we have to make it run every time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say go.layout, and then what we're going to say is we're just going to set the limitations for the x-axis and the y-axis. So we're going to say x-axis equals dict, and then range is going to equal, and then we give the the end, the bottom, and the max, or the minimum and the max. That's what I was looking for. Min x, max x. Okay, hopefully that, okay, cool. So now we need to do the exact same thing for the y-axis. So y-axis, min, y, max, y. Now on some plotting frameworks, you would probably want to add like a little bit of leeway on both sides, like, I don't know, 10 plus 10% or 5%, just so you can fully see things. I feel like with Plotly, you can still clearly tell where things are, so I'm not going to add any more to that, but just know that sometimes you might have to do something like that. Anyway, okay, so that's everything, right? That's layout, it's the dictionary, so that was like all of this, right? We're returning figure because this outputs to figure of live graph here. Boom. That's everything we need. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And now we just need to run the app. So what we'll do is just do the if dunder name equals dunder main. app.run server debug equals true. Awesome. Let's run it. See what happens. Invalid syntax. It looks like clearly like we forgot a comma. Let's try again. Whoops. Try to pull it down. Anyway, looks good so far. Let's bring this over. Refresh. There's our empty graph. Okay, and it's updating now. And as we can see, the x-axis is updating. We haven't, okay, now the y-axis is updated as well. And we can see the live graph has begun. And then once we get to 20 data points, we'll see the entire graph shifts as the min and max for the x-axis begins to take effect. There we go. And as the day Q just gets rid of the initial stuff. Obviously, you could make some modifications here, and you don't have to have a max len of 20. You could have a max len of hundreds if you really wanted. So the other thing is you could update much quicker, or at least you could attempt. So we'll try 100 here. Just wait for it. There it goes. It's just going to start over. So interestingly enough, that doesn't appear. I'm pretty sure that interval is the same. It definitely reset itself, but that interval feels the same. I wanted to show you that it does actually go faster than 1 second. This is clearly still on 1 second. Maybe we have to fully restart or something like that. I don't really feel like doing that, but you can get this to go a little faster, but I feel like sometimes it gets a little behind itself, and I don't really think, especially if you're reading sensor data or anything from a database, just make sure that it's updating as quickly as it seems to be reading in. So I don't have any idea how the back end is working with Dash here. I've gotten the impression that sometimes the data is behind, or what's being shown here is behind what's like cached or is, I don't know, in the pipeline to come out. So I feel like it probably does get delayed over time if you make that update too quickly. So someone can feel free to test that, but just be wary that that might be a thing. Anyway, regardless, that's it. That's a live graph. And now up to this point, we have everything we need to build that app I showed you before. At least all of our knowledge of Dash. Now we're just going to put it all together. So the app that I showed you in the beginning, basically reading vehicle sensor information. We're just going to generate dummy data just like this so everyone can follow along. You don't have to hook it up to your car or anything. But something like, picking things from the menu, getting graphs to dynamically pop up given which one we picked from the drop down, showing, dynamically one, which will full screen it, or maybe two, so it's like half the screen, or three, or if you add more than three, putting them on another row, that kind of stuff. Hopefully just kind of bringing together everything that we've learned up to this point. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next tutorial.